necessity and not a choice. A fully autonomous decision on care requires strong support systems and policies that allow older persons with options to receive at-home support or to opt for care in residential homes. A society perceives older persons as a homogeneous group dependent on others. They are often treated in an unacceptable manner, including by the professionals they rely on the most, such as doctors and social workers. This was the case with an 85-year-old woman who wanted to discuss her upcoming medical procedures and brought a family member as a company. However, she was very unpleasantly surprised as her doctor ignored her and her questions and explained the options and medical risks of the surgery only to the family member. Much of the work carried out by ENRI members also seek to promote and better protect the autonomy and independence of older persons, including through awareness-raising initiatives to help older persons understand and claim their rights, as well as to facilitate duty bearers to understand and implement their human rights obligations to older persons. Furthermore, the NHRI's reported issues that can impinge on the autonomy for older persons within their jurisdictions, including degrading treatment of older persons in care, structural inequality in pension provision, and discrimination against older migrants. For this reason, in my 2017 annual report to Croatian Parliament, I recommended to the government to take a more active role in open-ended working group on aging and to support the efforts for the new convention. Likewise, ENRI underlines that all actors must work towards the effective implementation of existing human rights standards to protect the human rights of older persons. However, given the normative and implementation gaps in existing international and regional human rights legislation, we need a new convention on the rights of older persons, which is to include the right of the autonomy and independence. Thank you.
I thank our speaker for her statement and now invite the American Bar Association to take the floor, followed by German Human Rights Institute.
Thank you, Madam Chair. People have autonomy when they have the opportunity to make their own decisions about themselves, either alone or with assistance. People have independence when they are free and able to carry out their own autonomous decisions. In modern society, independence must be understood as occurring in the context of the full range of social services, including financial, housing, healthcare, community-based social supportive services, technological assistance, and social connection and participation. Thus, autonomy and independence are inextricably bound with each other, just as they are both central to the human right of dignity. A right to self-directed decision-making means little unless the legal, economic, social, and physical environments support autonomous decision-making and independent action. Access to justice is thus key to providing and maintaining autonomy and independence for all persons, including older persons. Please consider the following examples of this reality. Retaining one's independence requires legal support in planning for one's later years, whether in estate planning or in making one's health decisions and end-of-life choices known and legally binding. Legal expertise in preparing estate plans, powers of attorney, living wills, and property transfers is largely absent for poorer older persons. Currently, public legal services in the United States provide less than 1/4 of the estimated legal needs of the lowest income older persons. Effective legal representation is also central to issues of guardianship and conservatorship. Within the United States, about 1.5 million adults are under guardianship or conservatorship, too often created without any real legal representation of the affected person. Often, including in cases involving guardianship or conservatorship of older persons, the affected person is not even present to protect their own autonomy and independence from being taken away. Furthermore, despite a declared national policy in favor of limited guardianships, plenary guardianship is too often the default norm. For older persons needing long-term residential care, neglect and abuse are all too common, as we have heard. When that happens, access to courts and the remedies they offer are vital to protecting the older person's remaining autonomy and independence. Unfortunately, regulations allow nursing homes to require individuals needing their services to waive their rights of access to the courts, substituting mandatory arbitration as a condition of admission. Such arbitration is widely regarded as an inferior venue of protection for the rights of older persons. Older persons have, as this working group has often discussed, a special combination of legal challenges, many of them, like abuse and exploitation, relating to autonomy and independence. Central to addressing these challenges and protecting these rights is the existence of a judicial system that facilitates legal action by older persons and the issues they face. Nevertheless, most prosecutors lack training in the legal issues of older persons, and few court systems in the United States have divisions focused on these issues. Commonly, cases drag on for years, to the particular detriment of older persons of limited means and years. Access to justice is central to the protection and enforcement of all human rights. These rights include access to representation, information, and advice, access to judicial institutions that ensure fair procedures and enforceable solutions. For these reasons, the American Bar Association calls upon this working group to support access to justice as fundamental to independence and autonomy. Thank you.
I thank the distinguished speaker, and I give the floor now to German Human Rights Institute, followed by the European Union.
Thank you, Madam Chair, for giving me the floor. We would like to congratulate the Bureau for the wonderful preparation of this 9th session, even though we are lacking right now translation and interpretation, but this is nothing in your regard. I will speak for the German Institute of Human Rights and the Gunnery Working Group for the Rights of Older Persons. We used the time since the 8th session to hold a couple of events where we discussed the topics and the normative elements of the rights chosen for the 9th session. In our discussions, we consistently came across a lot of gaps, information gaps, implementation gaps, and normative gaps. Therefore, we argued that the binding international human rights instrument on older persons would be a major contribution to closing these gaps. Therefore, we would like to propose some key elements to make as a contribution to the substantive contribution. Older persons are not well enough informed about the rights to choose to live in an autonomous and independent life. And exercising one's autonomy and independence does not mean that one has to live on their own. A lot of rights, especially the human rights principle on autonomy, to live a life in dignity is not enough implemented. And we are still lacking a clear definition of autonomy, which covers all parts of the life of older persons. Some key elements I would like to propose. We are in need of a definition. To meaningfully exercise the autonomous decision-making capacity of older persons need real and concrete options. Therefore, the state should provide sufficient and adequate structures for older persons. Structures and procedures should be put in place to ensure that supported decision-making by older persons is possible when needed. The state should provide support for older persons to give them a safe environment to enjoy all their human rights. The individual will of older persons should not be limited through broad notions such as the well-being or the best interest, which are pronounced on by a third party in contradiction of the older person's own views. And I would like to ask the panelists which kind of key elements or elements they would suggest for us to further discuss, and if not binding convention would be a good idea to close all the gaps. Thank you.
I thank our speaker and now give the floor to the European Union.
Thank you, Mrs. Chair, and I would also like to express our gratitude to the panelists and also to the OHCHR for their work in preparing the background analytical paper for this session. The right of older persons to independent living is enshrined in the Charter of Fundamental Rights of the European Union.
الحماية الدولية الفلسطيني بموجب قرار الجمعية العامة المعتمد بتاريخ 13 يونيو 2018. نرفض كذلك قرار سلطة الاحتلال الإسرائيلية لتشديد الخناق على سكان قطاع غزة الذي يعاني من حصار لأكثر من عقد من الزمن عبر إغلاق معبر كرم أبو سليمان، وما سيفاقم الإنسانية. كون أنه يقطع الإمدادات الحيوية ويحظر جميع الصادرات، معرضاً للخطر جميع سكان القطاع البالغ عددهم 2,000,000 شخص، نصفهم من الأطفال. نؤكد هنا على ضرورة العمل لإنهاء الأزمة الإنسانية والاقتصادية التي يعاني منها الشعب الفلسطيني.